subject matter is called the media-controlled economic, race, and political wars in America. That the media has become, or it was known affectionately, or in some ways, literally as the fourth estate. That you have the three departments of government. You have the executive branch, you have the judicial branch, and you have the congressional branch, and then the fourth estate being the media. And of course, the Washington Post, New York Times, Boston Globe, and a lot of these other major news papers, very influential in what happens economically, who gets a piece of the pie, what happens racially, who gets accused of being racist, and what happens politically. In many ways, who gets elected to office. The media plays a major role. And I think that, when I first heard Alex Jones' statement of information wars or InfoWars, I look carefully at that because there's a lot of truth to that the information produced by the media. And so we need to see the media not only as a fourth estate, but as equally as powerful as the executive branch, or as not the executive branch, but the judicial branch and the congressional branch of government. Though the media, you don't vote for them. They are a business enterprise with a whole lot of other, if you will, motives, but they are equally as powerful, if not more powerful, than the executive branch. So looking at it from where we are presently contemporary-wise, Rupert Murdoch represents a group of people politically and economically who we would normally refer to as the white working class. And George Soros, among many others, and people like Bill Gates, represent the white elites and their stepchildren, the Hamites. So when you look at the divide in America, and everyone's talking about America is greatly divided now, where the division is between the working class whites and the elite whites. By working class, I mean people pretty much that work with their hands, often without a college degree, sometimes with college degrees, but running manufacturing, etc. And most of those are found in the agricultural or industrial South, or once in the industrial Midwest that is not so much industrial any longer. They are the working class, and we're talking primarily about whites. Now, they're Japheth, but they wouldn't answer to that. They slap you in the face, you call them a Japheth, but that's who they are. That's their father's name. That's their biblical name. They ain't white. I ain't never seen a white person in all my life. I saw Casper the Ghost, and he ain't even clearly white. But they are the working class whites. And they're represented by Fox News, Rupert Murdoch, and a couple of the smaller venues, Sinclair Broadcasting, and some degree Salem Media, which is a religious aspect of the working class outlet in terms of their political and religious persuasion in America. And then, of course, you got the working class, you got the white elites. Now, again, they're not whites, they're Japheth, but they won't answer to that. But they consider themselves the elite. They're part of the intellectual intelligentsia, those who have college degrees and more than one college degree, who are traveled, who work in industry, many times work in the professions of law and medicine, or they work in Wall Street or the universities, and then movie industry and entertainment. They consider themselves the elites, and they are definitely a distinct and demarcated class from the working class whites or Japheth. And then within the elites, you have as a stepchild attached to them. Now, they're not equal, but they're stepchildren to the elites, or the Hamites. By that I mean the black man or the black people, and also the Hispanics. They are associated and attached to the elites. And but they're not elite themselves. Many of them think that they are. I call them the pensioners Negroes because they try to be elite, but they're not. And then we have within the middle what is known as the independents. People call themselves independents. They're not Democrats nor Republicans. They're not Fox News or CNN. They are somewhere in between. They are somewhere between working class and the elite, and that's why their political ideology is closer to being that of the either party, depending on who's presently calling the shots. But I think it's important that we understand that the media has a very powerful vent and hold on the politics of our day. In fact, whoever got elected to president or got elected to any office in 2020 election that took place in November was directly affected by the media. And the media pretty much chose who they wanted within that particular region. Let me give you a little bit of history about the power of the media. During the Bull Connor event, or the fire hoses and the dogs that were turned loose on school children, 15, 16, 17-year-old school children, those horrible scenes we saw in Birmingham in the 60s by Bull Connor and those school children was not a decision made by Bull Connor. And we need to understand this, that it needs to be reported. This kind of truth is hard to get out of either one of the medias, but you'll get it from me, James David Manning, the Manning Report. Dr. Martin Luther King was having a difficult time in his movement, getting his movement covered by the media. They'd done some covering of the marches, they've done a few other things of it. They covered the 1963 march in Washington, and they covered some of the Freedom Riders events. But really, the New York Times, the San Francisco Chronicle, the Washington Post, and the ABC and NBC and CBS News Network had kind of cooled off on Dr. King. They really weren't all that interested in every little thing that he did. Every time he sneezed, they were there. They weren't there. And he realized as a result of that, if he couldn't get his story out, if he could not get media coverage, that his movement was going to fail. So someone suggested to him that he bring the school children out, let them march. Because you'd never seen school children march. If you think about all the marches that were done by Dr. King and by SNCC and by others, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, you don't see children marching, especially school children. So someone suggested, bring the school children out. Now, Dr. King knew that if he brought the school children out, first of all, it was going to be a violation of the fact that children should be in school during school hours. He knew that. But he also knew that Bull Connor was going to bring out the fire hoses in Birmingham. He knew that. He knew that. But he did it because he knew not only would it bring out Bull Connor and the fire hoses, but it would also bring the television cameras. He desperately needed to get back on camera again and to be able to keep his movement going. And he exposed those children to those dogs and those fire hoses. Now, you're not going to hear that in traditional Black History Month teaching, but everybody knows it's the absolute truth. But I'm not here to, to assuage to assault Dr. King. I'm here to show you the power of the media. Dr. King realized that he had to keep the media happy with him in order to be able to keep his arguments and keep his movement going. And that's why he used those school children in order to be able to have that happen. But also in 1967, when he then later, after he had moved out to Chicago and lived in Chicago and in a flat out there in the ghetto, and came back to New York and gave a speech at the Riverside Church, we're talking about Dr. Martin Luther King, that Jr., that he then assaulted Lyndon Johnson's Vietnam War. He assaulted the fact he stated that the Vietnam War was wrong and that injustice to anybody anywhere is injustice to everybody everywhere, something along those lines. And he gave that speech from the great spire of the auspicious Riverside Church over on Riverside Boulevard, built by the Rockefeller with Rockefeller money. And the New York Times attacked him like those sharks did attacking those people on Jaws movie many years ago. They came after Dr. King and they ripped him a new backside. They did, because the New York Times were all in bed with supporting the Vietnam War, the heroin that was coming out of Vietnam, and the fact that the Vietnam War was being lost terribly. Ho Chi Minh was kicking America, General Westmoreland, behind. But Dr. King did a switch, and they told him, hey, listen, boy, hey, now the media's calling him a boy. Hey, boy, keep your mind on poor Black people. You ain't got no business into getting involved in international political affairs globally. You ain't got no business in Vietnam. You ain't got no business talking about what's right or wrong in Vietnam. And even the liberal media, the Washington Post, ABC, Walter Cronkite, and New York Times, they all jumped on it and dumped him and said his day was over with. Well, less than a year later, to the day, April the 4th, 1968, he was dead. Because the media is that powerful. And anybody who fails to understand that, listen, Rudy Giuliani has done some crazy antics with Donald John Tribulation Trump. And I'm thinking about it for a while. I now realize, going back in the history of what I know about Giuliani, is that he also did something very stupid when he was mayor of New York City. He allowed Al Sharpton to bait him into a number of contests that kept Al Sharpton in the streets marching and having all these Hollywood people like Susan Sarandon and everybody else marching with him for weeks, and the camera only because Al Sharpton really had faded. Al Sharpton had been clearly indicted by the New York Post as a snitch that had been selling heroin here in Harlem. And in order to not go to prison, he sold out the mafioso boys, and the FBI gave Al Sharpton the title CI7, Central Intelligence Number 7. Al Sharpton was a snitch, and he was for the most part over. He had been sued by the Tawana Brawley district attorney. And it was all over for Al Sharpton. He was through. He was it. Now, you wouldn't have heard no more from him, except Giuliani, in his racist hate for Al Sharpton, just kept jugging at Sharpton. And every time, the thing about the media, most people realize is that even they make bad stories about you, if you're smart enough, you can turn that story into a positive event. You get before the camera, you can tell your story. And there's two sides to their stories, everybody know. And Al Sharpton, Giuliani as mayor, kept talking about Al Sharpton. And Al Sharpton had an opportunity to get before the camera and tell his side of the story, and he blew up. I mean, he got bigger, more powerful. Movie stars are now following him all over every place. Cameras are now seeking him. Political candidates are now coming to his little shack to kiss his ring for an endorsement. It went wild, Al Sharpton. So we're talking about the power of the media. But I have to tell you, with some sense of pride, but not proud, with one sense of understanding, but not trying to prove something, is that I took Al Sharpton down. Oh yeah, I marched against that boy going back about 6-7 years ago against his advertiser, maybe longer than that, against his advertiser's BMW down on 57th Street. Went down there and camped out in front of BMW for 3 days. My point was, I was demanding at MSNBC, take Al Sharpton off of MSNBC. He had a primetime daily broadcast on MSNBC News at 5 o'clock every day, Monday through Friday. That was a big, powerful position that he'd gotten through the auspices of Barack Hussein, the long-legged Mac Daddy Obama, and Chris Matthews. I led a march against him and demanded that he be and they took him down. Now, you won't hear nobody talk about that. Al Sharpton won't mention it. You won't hear any historians talk about it. You won't hear anybody who know political structure ever mention that I took Al Sharpton down. And the reason why, because if they ever say that, if that ever gets publicized that I did it, that's going to make me a bad boy. But they don't want the world to know I did it. But I did. They took him down. MSC took him down. And one of the restaurants that was greatly featured on his broadcast, stopped advertising on MSNBC. I took him down. Now, payback time. Now he's trying to take us down in a court battle we are having with the LGBTQ regarding some sort of water bill charge against our church that the court keeps ruling against us, mainly because Al Sharpton and Bill de Blasio want me out of town. Well, we'll see how that's going to end up. That's another story for another time. But Al is trying to get revenge. The fact I took him down, okay, all right, fair is fair. What's fair is fair. I took him down, now he wants to take me down. But I think in terms of the white working class and the white elites, that's the division that's in America. It's not a racial division. Black people and white people as a Civil War type of racial. The racial division in America, let's be clear about what we can be clear about, is between white folk, the white working class and the white elites. I mean, when you got, QAnon and everybody else talking about we want to find Nancy Pelosi and we want to hang Mike Pence, that's a racial war between white folk. Black people are simply stepchildren to the event. Hamites as they are, they won't answer that. But they are stepchildren to the event. So let's be clear. that what we have now, the racial divide in America is along economic and political lines, but mainly you have the white working class that fell in love with Donald Trump because he recognized him. He gave him some juice. He gave him publicity. He talked about him. He invited them to his meetings. He talked about their concerns. He voiced their opinions. And they fell in love with him, stock, lock, and barrel. The white working class. And in order to have that happen, he had to then attack the white elites that are against the white working class in America. You got this race war between white people and white people. And so Fox News took the side of Trump and the white working class. And CNN and MSNBC, New York Post, Washington Times took the side of the white elites. Now, you'll notice that Fox News will support the Oath Keepers, the Boogaloo Boys, the Proud Boys, and QAnon. However, on the other hand, MSNBC and CNN, the Washington Post, and New York Times can't get enough of kissing Black Lives Matter, but they support them like it's Jesus. You see? But if you are misunderstanding of all this, depending on where you watch Fox News, and you say, yeah, come on now, Fox, Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson, Janine Pirro, and Lauren Ingram, and everybody. Come on, support the QAnon, support the Big Little Boys, support the Proud Boys. And yeah, they should. Because CNN supports Black Lives Matter and Antifa and black politicians and Al Sharpton. They lick them. And so, I mean, what's fair is fair. And so you got this war going on between the media in terms of what we have happening in terms of racial divide here in America. So it's important that we recognize how it isn't the politicians that we have to worry about, it's this media. And I can tell you, New York Times, Washington Post, MSNBC, they are viciously liberal. They support abortion. I'm going to tell you something. They support LGBTQ. They would stab Jesus in the eye with an ice pick if he ever said anything against some of these LGBTQ people. You know, and of course, Fox News don't go down that road. They don't do that. So I think it's very important that we recognize, where we are in America. Now you got to fight between Lawrence Tribe, who's a Harvard professor, who is a liberal, a go-to man when they want to find constitutional advice. So Lawrence Tribe is supposed to be some big-time constitutionalist, right? Constitutional lawyer. And then Alan Dershowitz, who's a Fox. He's not really a Fox person, but he supported Trump. So you got these two very well-noted constitutional scholars, Harvard trained, Alan Dershowitz and Lawrence Tribe. And they are at each other's throat daily on constitutional issues regarding Trump, et cetera, et cetera. So if Fox News candidate lost, and that's why they were slow about announcing Joe Biden's win, and slower yet about announcing that the election was legal. Fox News has a dog in the fight. And you have to step back and stop, and you can't just look at Fox News and say they're just racist. No, they're not. I mean, not in that regard. I mean, they are fighting for they've become the new Whigs and the Tories, or the new Democrats and Republicans. We got a race war going on in America, not between black folk. Black folk are appendages. They're nothing but stepchildren to the whole process, because the average black people, now they're Hamites, have decided to cast their lot and vote for the liberal whites, or the white elites, rather than going with the Dixiecrats or the Southern, or if you will, or the white working class. And that's what we have going on in our world. So I think that one of the things that is quite chilling was that Raphael Warnock and this Steve Ossoff, I think Ossoff is the last name, those two, a Jewish boy and a Hamite boy, a Shemite and a Hamite, took the whole Senate seats of Georgia, and Biden took the presidency. Whoa, that took place. But that ain't supposed to happen. That's not supposed to happen. Why did it happen? It happened because of CNN. And now, Trump called CNN fake news. I'm not going to go there. I think they both have their own individual, both Fox and CNN have their political candidate, and they're going to give the news, they're going to spin it the way they want to spin it. I don't believe, I think all of it, if you ask me, all of it's fake news, every last bit of it. Unless they're talking about me. And they may be telling the truth. When they come around, sometimes they've done a couple of fake news stories on me too. But James Carville said, when you look at what happened in Georgia, I mean, that is astounding that the state of Georgia went for Biden, white working class state, now goes for the white elites candidate. And the Raphael Warnock, a black Baptist preacher, and a fellow by the name of Ossoff, who was a Jewish 31-year-old, both take the Senate seats in Georgia from the white working class, and now it's become a state of the white elites. It's quite fascinating. I think that's what. And I was about to say that James Carville said at when Obama won the presidency, that the Democrats would rule America for the next 40 years. The Republicans would not get a shot in. And what we're now seeing is a division between the Republican Party. Is the Republican Party going to come back together and try to discover a way to unify and try to win seats again because now you got Trump attacking Mitch McConnell attacking Trump, and you got these Getz boy attacking Liz Cheney. You got Republican Party attacking Bill Cassidy and Robert Burr. You got Republicans attacking Republicans. I mean, like a circular firing squad. They're now attacking from within. Will the Republicans survive? If that's the case, then will Fox News survive? And Rush Limbaugh, by the way, was a major part of the white working class elections and their power getting the message out. Rush Limbaugh had the biggest audience in media in terms of radio media. And he passed today at the news that we're getting. So we're looking at some very difficult times. But you also need to know, as Dr. King used the media, and without the media, Dr. King was about to go extinct. And when the media finally turned on him, and they did, all this rosy pitch about Dr. King, how great he was and all that kind of stuff, don't believe it. I was alive in 1967. I was alive in 1968. I saw the whole damn thing go down. They turned on him like a vicious dog. They turned on that man and like he had stole something from their mama. And a year later, the boy was dead. And the media, after his death, now they're going to come back and try to make him some sort of hero, start promoting, he have a holiday, but that ain't the way it was. These ABC, NBC, these New York Times, Washington Post, they're such damn hypocrites. They turned on Dr. King, and they made Dr. King dance to their music in order to get them to cover him. He needed, because without the media, it's hard to get your story out. I can tell you that right now. It's hard to get your story out. And if you black or Hamite, I tell you this is another thing. Ain't nobody Hamite gonna follow you or listen to you on an international scale until somebody, Japheth, put their hands on your head and say he's a good boy. Listen to him. If they don't do that, you could be as good as gold until somebody Japheth blesses you, like the Japheth boys blessed Dr. King and said he's okay, trust him, he's good, and everybody start following him. Same thing with Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton's a damn drug dealer. He's a confessed drug dealer. But yeah, Obama put his hands on his head in MSNBC, said he's a good boy. And now all of a sudden he's some sort of a saint sitting up there on MSNBC on the weekends. He ain't got his weekly show back, and he ain't gonna get it back either. But that's pretty much what I wanted to try to say to you. The race war that's going on in America is not between black folk and white folk. The race war that's going on between America is between white working class and white elites. And the Hamite people are just stepchildren to the process. Me, I'm James David Manning. I'm the Lord's servant. This is a bit of a news blog we do, looking at spiritual wickedness in high places for the most part, making some observations about it and giving people a biblical foundation to the way of interpreting, rather than have Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham or Janine Pirro or Anderson Cooper or Rachel Maddow or Don Lemon, Rush Limbaugh interpret what's going on in the world. You come to me and I'll tell you based on what the Word of God says. They'll just give you their worldly, sinful view. But the Manning Report will tell you what God has said, whether to say yea or nay, whether to go or to stay. You'll be led by the word of Almighty God. Come to the Manning Report on a daily basis to interpret the spiritual wickedness in high places, because there's plenty of it that's going on. And so I am he. I'm the Lord's servant, James David Righteous Rebel Manning, and I'm here to serve you with news and information.